Halloween is a lovely time for me. It's probably one of my favorite seasons of all time. And what no better way, especially since we're going going towards Halloween, than to rank, in my opinion, the top 10 best horror movies of all time. Now, a lot of you may not like this list, and that is okay. But this is my list, and let's get into this. Like, there's no other reason to stall. So let's get into this. There's obviously no other reason to stall. Okay. All right. At number 10, I actually have all of these on physical media, of course, my top 10 favorite. But the number 10 spot is going to be Smile 2. Now, Smile 2 has become one of my favorite horror films of all time, and it really I can't explain it enough. It is so good. It's such a rewatchable movie, especially for me, and I love it. Naomi Scott is so good in the movie, like up per par. She's just very good, and she brings the role out, and for me at least, that brought out the movie for me a lot. So the acting was so good, and it's just such a rewatchable movie. And like I said with the cursed movie list, it's probably one of the scariest curses I could think of, the Smile curse, and I love rewatching that film, and that's why it's on the list. And if you don't like it, I don't fucking know. Go somewhere else. Now we go to number 9. Number 9 is going to be The Conjuring. The Conjuring is just such a great, not only a great horror film, but a great movie in general. Like, if you removed all, like, the horror parts of it, it would still be such a great movie. And especially me being from Rhode Island, and the first Conjuring movie being based off of the farmhouse in Rhode Island that I have also investigated, I think maybe I'm a little bit more biased to it. But rewatching it time and time and again, The Conjuring is just such a great horror film. And I can understand how people see it as not so scary or not the scariest horror movie in the world. And a lot of people think that, and I agree with that. It's not the scariest horror movie in the world. But for me, especially with the storyline, the plot, the characters, Ed and Lorraine Warren, it's just such a good horror movie from beginning to end. And that's why The Conjuring is going to be at number 9. We're going to be moving on to number 8 spot. Number 8 spot is going to be The Thing. The Thing. It is one of those classic horror movies set in the wintertime that I only usually watch during the wintertime, but it is such a great 1980s body horror movie, and it's probably one of my favorite body horrors. Maybe not my favorite body horror, but I think for the storyline purposes, for the visual effects of the time, the acting, I think The Thing is so good. Now, I put it lower on the top 10. A lot of people would probably put it, higher, but I put it at the 8th spot because there are some things in the movie where if I was a survivor, I would have done something differently. Like, spoiler alert, not really, but they're trying to figure out who the Thing is. It can mask itself, it can camouflage itself, it can become somebody else. And I feel like if I was in that situation, I would have clocked the Thing first try. That could have just been me, But yeah, so The Thing is going to be number 8. Number 7 is going to be Saw, the original Saw. Now, why did I put Saw above The Thing? Well, when I first watched Saw, it was, of course, one of those movies where, and I've talked about this, where I was like 14 or 15 on my first laptop, and of course I went into every single free movie website and I watched Saw. And the ending, the plot twist of Saw is probably one of my favorite plot twists in modern horror, or at least the 21st century of horror. And I think it's not as, if you want to call it torture porn, it's not torturous like the sequels are, because the sequels go ballistic and bananas. But for the scenes that do involve the, I guess, body horror, the horror aspects, it's really, really good and subtle. I have the unrated version on the 4K Steelbook, and I know the unrated version gives you like a few more seconds of like grisly like scenes. And when I mean grisly scenes, I'm talking about the, spoiler alert, the ending, where somebody's walking apparatus gets cut off. And so they show a little bit more of that in the unrated version. but I think Saw is one of those movies where it brought to light this new genre of horror, at least for me. And like I said, the plot twist, Jigsaw, the character himself, I love to this day. Now, the acting is far from perfect, but it's probably actually not even far from perfect. It's just not even that good. But the movie itself is just such a stake in the horror genre for me, at least, and not putting it on this list, I feel like would do it a disservice. So we're gonna put Saw at number 7. Number 6. This might devise people, if this list hasn't already devised you. The Vivitch, number 6, The Vivitch. The Vivitch is probably one of the first, or not The Vivitch, but The Witch, you know what I'm talking about. The Witch, and it's probably it was one of the first A24 horror films. I wasn't sure what I was expecting when I first watched it. Again, another movie on the classic laptop that I used to watch. Actually, I think I actually watched this on my TV back in the day, like I'm a fucking old man. But The Vivitch really is such a slow burn horror, and a lot of people do not like slow burn horror. So obviously, if somebody does not like slow burn and they hear this movie on this list, they think, well, what the hell? But The Witch is such a great slow burn horror for A24, and in my opinion, I think it's probably one of Robert Eggers' best films. My favorite second one is Nosferatu for no other reason, but I think The Witch is just so good at slow burn horror, especially in the setting of the New England like witch and Salem trial stuff. It's really, really good. Again, it's slow, but the payoff at the end, I think, is something that it was jaw-dropped by the end of it. It's one of those movies like Saw at the end where I'm just like, so when The Witch ended, I'm like, wow, that was really great. Not only filmmaking, story, characters, and scares, for me at least. So I think The Witch is not the most perfect horror film, but I think for me it's one of the best A24 horror films. I think I do like the slow process. Obviously, if nothing happens in the movie, and then the ending happens, and nothing happens, I'll be pissed. Some things don't happen in this film. Like, there's not a ton of jump scares. There's not a ton of, like, blood and gore. But when the scares do happen, I think it's really good. So we're going to put the Witch, at number 6. Number 5, we're getting into the top 5, folks. Number 5 is going to be The Shining. The Shining is coming to be one of my favorite Stanley Kubrick films. I'm going to be getting the 4K of Eyes Wide Shut when it comes out in November, so I'll have to rewatch that to see which one stands as my favorite one. But The Shining, for horror purposes, I think is such a great psychological horror film. And I know I put this on the list of the psychological horror films. I didn't put it at number 1, but I think the storyline, the acting, the shots, the cinematography, it's probably the best out of all the psychological films that I listed in the other video. But The Shining is just really good. And a lot of people, including Stephen King, did not like the ending because it didn't, correlate with the book, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care. I love the ending. I love those kind of endings where you put something out and it's not what the audience expects, and it leaves you on a cliffhanger. It leaves you thinking more, and I think The Shining does that so perfectly. And it's just such a great psychological film and a great Stanley Kubrick film. So we're gonna put The Shining at number 5. Number 4, top 4, The Wailing. When I first watched The Wailing, I immediately saw that it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, and so I kind of rolled my eyes, and I was like, Jesus Christ. So what is The Wailing going to do to me? Is it going to make me wail? Is it going to make me scream? What is it going to do? Well, it made me scared, and it made me shit my pants, maybe. Not really. Maybe. But The Wailing is another great depiction of foreign horror films. It's a South Korean horror masterpiece, in my opinion, and it's not only horror aspect, but it dives into like Korean lore and Korean religious aspects, I think, if that makes sense. And just the setting of it all. There's detective aspects in this throughout the film too, so I love it when they mix like detective stuff and like a horror movie into one. And even though it's 2 hours and 40-ish minutes long, it didn't feel like that. And it was just such a great... It made me open my eyes to a lot of foreign horror films. And so The Wailing is just one of those where I'm like, this is peak. This is peak foreign horror. And it's, like I said, it's become one of my favorite horror films as I keep thinking about it, especially the ending of it. And I definitely don't want to talk about this movie a lot because I want people to see this movie. The Wailing, number 4, there's no other words to put it. So, The Wailing at number 4. All right, top 3. What I'm about to say might make some of you come at me. Number 3, Skinamarink. I said it, Skinamarink. I knew going into it, because I bought the steelbook at Walmart, that Skinamarink was going to be an hour and a half of nothing. Probably. Most likely. I didn't see any spoilers, but I knew that the movie was long, and that's why people didn't like it, because a lot of people said that it could have been a short film, it could have been 20, 30 minutes, and watching that, I agree with it. However, not that I took a shortcut, but I did take a couple of edibles that night, and I did watch Skinamarink, so I was a little, up the wazoo with the devil's lettuce, and that made the experience a lot scarier. And when I tell you a lot scarier, I don't think I've ever been more terrified of a movie high than Skinamarink. It invoked like a childhood fear for me, being born in 2000, growing up in like the 2000s. That feeling in the movie was just persistent throughout, and it was just so scary. Now, obviously, maybe it was because, I was high and it made it scarier, but nonetheless, for me, when I was watching that, I was hooked, I was locked in, and I was so fucking scared. There were moments where I'm like, what is happening? What's going to happen? I covered my face more than I thought I would when nothing would happen. And I think for an experimental movie, for me, it worked really well. And a lot of people are going to say it's either two sides. You either really like this movie or you really hate this movie. There's no in between. I don't think I've ever heard someone say, it's all right, Skinamarink. It's either you hate it or you love it. And I'm on the love it side. And I think if you gave it a chance, not saying you have to smoke devil lettuce or be intoxicated, but I think if you gave it a chance to know what it is going into it, I think it would surprise you if you haven't seen it at least. And I think Skinamarink is, again, it's such an experimental film, but when I watched it, I thought I was watching one of the scariest movies ever made. So Skinamarink is going to be number 3. Number 2, Halloween, the original. Halloween is perfect, in my opinion. I think it's one of those more perfect slasher 1970s movies, and it really has stuck the test of time for me. It is not only really great, it is just one of those, another like low budget, because originally it was low budget, and they made it into something that would span for decades. And Halloween, for me, I think Michael Myers is probably one of the, scariest villain horror figures, and I think it's just such a great film. Now, it's not scary, by any means, not like, Skinamarink or number 1 spot or any of the other, scares, but there are definitely scenes where, you're like, it's a little bit, bloody for 1970s, so it's definitely not as, impactful as, modern day horror, but for me, I think it was one of those first ever slasher movies that I watched, and it has stuck with me, and Michael Myers is scary, I guess. He's the boogeyman. Now, obviously, in this one, he's only 5'10", and I think he's the shortest Michael Myers in this movie. I'm not 100% sure, but even still, height doesn't matter because Michael Myers will be coming at you, and you can't run apparently, because even if you ran away, he's still coming at you at 3 miles an hour. So, so number 2 is going to be Halloween. Now, before we get to number 1, we're just going to do a couple of honorable mentions. The Evil Dead remake from 2013. I think that one is probably one of the best horror remakes of all time. And I know people are going to come at me for that, but I think Evil Dead 2013 is such a great horror remake, and I thought I should at least mention it. The Blair Witch Project, one of my favorite found footage movies of all time. And I didn't think, even thinking about it, didn't think it was going to make the list, but I thought I should mention it. And the recent A24 film, Talk to Me. I have really, really loved Talk to Me a lot. And I saw the sequel, Bring Her Back, and I thought Bring Her Back was really good. But I think Talk to Me is a little bit better. And like The Witch as one of my favorite A24 horror movies, I think Talk to Me is getting up there as well. So those are just a couple of honorable mentions. All right, this is it. The Final Frontier. What is the number 1 horror film of all time? It's Hereditary. You stuck around for this long. Why did you even stick around? Listen, a lot of people, I have seen more people clown on this movie or hate this movie, and they keep saying it's not scary. It's not scary. My brother in Christ, what other scary movies are you watching? If some of these people actually think that the original Halloween, for scare tactics, is scarier than Hereditary. That's not what it is. And a lot of people are saying, well, it's not a horror movie, nothing happens in it. My brother in Christ, be patient. Be patient and watch Hereditary, because Hereditary is the best horror movie, at least for the 21st century, for me at least, and in my opinion. When I watched Hereditary, I was mind blown. I was mind fucked, essentially. And it's just such a great horror film. Another A24 number one. So I guess The Witch isn't really my number one A24 film. It would be Hereditary, but regardless, Hereditary, it dives into the many things I love about horror. A great slow pace, a great cult intertwining, and great acting. And great shots and cinematography and scares and everything. There is no notes about Hereditary. I can't think of one bad thing about Hereditary. Like, I am still pissed off to this day that Toni Collette has not been nominated for her role as the mom in the movie. It's speechless. I am so speechless about Hereditary. Hereditary still sticks at number one for me. I hope one day that something will beat it, but who knows? So, yep, that's it. That's the top 10 horror movies of all time. A little quick video. It had to be quick for obvious reasons. I mean, fucking look at me. But yeah, that's about it. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe if you're new here, and comment what your favorite horror films of all time. Now, not to say, again, this is my opinion, and obviously my list can change over the years, but I think for right now, this list is top tier, for me at least. So, yeah, that's about it, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.